Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Joel, and it's an absolute delight to be together. Wherever you're joining us from, whether you're at home or watching it on a phone or a tablet, wherever you are joining us from, it is great to be able to just be together. Please remember to say hello on the chat. It's really nice this morning. Just before I jumped up here, I've just been saying hello to people, and it's just such a real it's just really nice to be able to connect with one another. Please make sure that you jump on and comment on the chat. It really does make a nice contribution. Hey, if you haven't done so already, I'm just also going to encourage you, please remember to subscribe to the channel. We want to put most of our information out via YouTube, so please make sure that you subscribe and get involved with the channel on that way. I've got a couple of quick announcements, and then we're going to move on to our morning today. Now, if you haven't done so already, you can watch the Superstars session every Sunday morning at 9:30. We have a special session for our children. We believe in investing in the younger generations, and we put out some content every single Sunday at 9:30 for our Superstars, and check it out. Also, this afternoon, our superstars are getting together for a Zoom call. So a crazy, mad, fun Zoom call this afternoon at 2 o'clock. And we'll send you those links. If you want the information about that, you're going to have to contact us if you haven't got it already. Also, I don't know if you're aware, but this coming week is the National Storytelling Week. And we have got some fun stuff set up in place for you. Every single day this week, we're going to be putting out a brand new video. And every video is going to have a story with somebody reading one of their favorite Bible stories to you. So make sure you watch those. Also, on Sunday afternoons, we get our rock stars, our youth groups together. And they catch-ups and sharing life. And this month, they're looking at emotions, and how emotions are incredibly important in our lives. However, emotions do not control our lives. So a really, really important lesson for all of us, and for any of us who are older, we can remember when we were teenagers, that's a pretty important life lesson to begin to learn. So really important for our young people, because we really care for our young people and we want to invest and help them. Also, we have a number of other groups that are going on midweek. This coming Thursday is our Over 50s gathering. If you want to find out any more about the groups, the best thing to do is head over to the website, nlcletchworth.co.uk. You can find out all about the groups. I've got another quick announcement. This coming Monday, we are having a Make Lunch evening. So Elaine is hosting a special update about Make Lunch. And this is the program that she oversees, which helps provide food for families in our town who might be experiencing holiday hunger or food deprivation. And she oversees that, and she's doing an amazing job helping spearhead and oversee that work. Now, that's happening tomorrow night, 7:30, over Zoom. You can jump on there. You can find out about what's been going on. And you can also find out about what we're going to be doing in the future. If you ever wanted more information about something that we do as a local church, this is a great thing for you to get involved with and find out more about. Also, just a little teaser for the month of February. You know, we got February half term coming up. We are going to do a February half term, February fun. We're going to have from Monday the 15th through that week, we're just going to have a bunch of fun events going on every day. So watch this space. Got lots of fun planned in the pipeline. So watch this space. Now this morning, we're going to be wrapping up our theme, The Beginner's Guide to Predicting Your Future. If you have missed any of the sessions, they're all online. You can catch them, and they're really, really good, helpful, and hopeful messages for life. Now, I'm going to introduce Sam, who's sharing this morning, and it is such a joy and a delight not only to have Sam as a friend, but to be able to work with him. Now, Sam, for every week over the last few months, has been here on a Sunday behind the scenes, helping make sure that everything that we're doing is actually working. And today, it's a delight to have him on the other side of the camera. So he's a great friend, and I know that he's got such a passion for the local church and caring for others. And it's great to have people on board who help with our vision of doing everything we can to reach everyone we can. Sam is going to come up in just a moment. We'll see you soon.
Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm here with the brave few of us at the Free Church Hall in what is a very chilly morning. I hope you're receiving this reasonably well, and we don't have too many technical issues. But it's great to be with you this morning, so please continue to communicate and engage in the live chat. We are a community joined together, and I hope that you're able to join us live this morning. We're on the 4th week in a series called The Beginner's Guide to Predicting Your Future. And if you haven't been able to watch all of these live, then get on over to the New Life Church YouTube channel and you'll be able to catch up on what Joel and Richard have been sharing throughout the month of January. Now, here's something that we all have in common. It's not a religious thing. It's not a faith thing. In fact, it's an entirely human thing. My worst decisions, your worst decisions, our worst decisions were fueled by something with strong emotional appeal. Maybe it was so appealing that you ordered it for evening delivery. Or even worse, you had to wait for that next day prime delivery. Maybe you took out a loan to buy it or arrange finance so you could have it sooner. Maybe you thought it was too good not to invest into it. Maybe it was something you ate or you drank, and that began a series, a pattern of something that you couldn't give up, you couldn't resist. Maybe it was something you started a close relationship with. Maybe you invited it into your home or you moved in with it. I could go on. But then something really odd happened, and I bet you've all noticed this. This thing that was so appealing, that had such strong emotional appeal to you, it lost its appeal. We've all had that. Maybe it took a bit of time. The sort of shine began to wear off that new thing that had arrived, that was unpackaged. Maybe it wasn't quite as exciting or life-changing as you thought it would be, or that it was promised to be. Maybe it broke and you weren't able to fix it, or it was just another thing on the to-do list to do. Maybe that person wasn't quite as perfect as you thought they would be. Maybe something else, more exciting, came along and caught your attention. But perhaps what began as appealing became a prison or an addiction. Well, we could simply wrap up now and say, well, let's not just make that mistake again. We'll just try harder. Let's not do that again. We just won't do it anymore. Wouldn't it be great if it was that easy? We could just finish now. Well, we're going to be looking at some of that this morning and how we can walk in a different way. But the main theme throughout our series has been described as the principle of the path. Direction determines destination. The principle isn't something that you choose, that you sort of opt into, that you sign up for. A principle is something that happens to you. It's something we all experience in life. And this principle of the path, your direction, determines your destination. The best way to predict your future is to pay attention to where you're headed, not where you are right now. You will always end up where the path you're on takes you, regardless of your intention. So we add that in now. We'll say the principle of the path. Direction, not intention, determines destination. Direction trumps intention every single time. You might mean well, you might want to try harder, you might think, I know there's those things that I'm going to see, but I'm just going to ignore them. But if you don't look at where the path you're on is headed, then you will just be carrying on, sailing through. Whatever your intentions are, that direction you're on that path is where you're going to end up. You see this with parents. I'm a parent. Our children, luckily, are still in the younger side of things. But if you've got teenagers, maybe children going to university, maybe you are one of those, and your parents are always nagging you, or you feel like that, or maybe it's your grandparents, or uncles, or older friends asking those difficult questions, those annoying questions, like, what are you going to do with your life? Where are you wanting to go? This person you've met, what are they like? Where do they come from? What's their dreams and their hopes for the future? Oh, but I'm in love. Yeah, well, you're in love now, but where is it headed? And parents, you see, they're always concerned with where their children are headed, not where they are. And that's why we can feel they can be on our case. But maybe one day you'll be one of those parents. Maybe you are one of those parents now. The path to be avoided is always paved with strong emotional appeal. I'll say that again. The path to be avoided is always paved with strong emotional appeal. Well, let's look at some things that might have strong emotional appeal. Maybe it's newer. Maybe it's faster. Maybe it's bigger. We've all seen those things before. Maybe it has a guaranteed 25% return. Can you believe that? Guaranteed. That's too good to miss, surely. Maybe it's romance or desire. They definitely have strong emotional appeal. Maybe it's something that gives you acceptance or attention or adventure or even security. Do you really love that person? Well, I'm not really looking for love. I'm just looking for someone to look after me. They have a good job. They can pay the bills. Maybe they can support the family. Love, well, I'm willing to compromise on these things. You see, these things, though, they're not bad. In fact, these are all good things. They're just not enough. Strong emotional appeal, it lowers our defenses. But wait for it. It raises our defensiveness. You see, I'm sure close friends, maybe family members, loved ones, have tried to speak to you about a number of topics before. And when they bring those up, maybe it's money, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's your attitude. If you get exceptionally, more than normal defensive about that, and you don't just realize you don't want to talk about it, you should take note. Now, you might discount them. You might say, well, the way they approach it, it just gets my back up. Yeah, that's fair enough. Or you might say, well, they don't know all the information. They don't know what it's like to live with all the pressures that I have. They just don't understand. Well, yeah, that's fine. They might say that. But you know what? If you get really defensive when those topics come up, you need to pay attention because something is wrong. You may be misguided. You may be reacting to that strong emotional appeal, which is dragging you into something that maybe isn't the best for you. You see, those people, they have the benefit. They're not tangled up in it. They can see from outside, and they have your best intentions at heart. So rather than just push them away and write off what they're saying, you should take note at those moments. Because it's so easy, isn't it, to confirm our own thoughts on these things. Confirmation bias is a term that can be used. We just think, maybe Google, maybe we go online, we research, we find other people's blogs or videos that go along, yeah, this is a great thing, you should do it. The more and more we dig into it, we just find more and more that we want to hear that convinces us that this is the right thing to do and we should feel good about it. The great news, though, is we are not stupid. That's really good, just to reaffirm you this morning. But we do make, we do make dumb decisions sometimes, don't we? And I'm sure we've all had moments afterwards when we said, how could I have been so stupid? You see, we aren't stupid, but we do make stupid decisions sometimes. You see, that strong emotion appeal can lower even our IQ, our intelligence can go down because we're so emotionally wrapped up in something. Well, most of you, or some of you will definitely know that I definitely like gadgets and tech, and our eldest son, who's now 10, I'm pleased to say, is following in his father's footsteps, and he is really getting into tech now. And as I was sat at my desk last night, I think I counted 6 computers around me. I'm just hoping for some sort of artificial limbs now that I can control them all at once. That would be fantastic. But yeah, he's really getting set up, especially with doing homeschool. He's got his laptop upstairs. But then he was in the garage. He found a spare computer monitor. Oh, wow. So that appears on his desk. Now he's asking for an HDMI cable. So now he's got 2 screens set up on the desk. And nearly every day now he comes down just sort of looking around in the office. What's that? Is that mouse available there, Dad? It's a wireless mouse now. Well, if you just reconfigure your setup a little bit, Dad, then you wouldn't need that keyboard, you wouldn't need that webcam, and then I could use that for my room. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be cool? So he's really getting excited about it. But I remember when he was tiny, and in our first house we had obviously our bedroom, we had a guest room, we had a box room which was his nursery, and then we had a room over the garage which was my office. Well, what happens with little children is they do grow up and they start to get bigger, and they definitely demand and require more space. So he grew out of his nursery, and of course the next room to be sacrificed was the office. So he moved into that, and I just changed jobs. So I was now working at home full time, and I had to take a small desk at the end of the guest room. So I thought, well, what a great time to really reconfigure my computer setup. I've been going to a few conferences at that time, and all the cool tech people had Apple Macs. And I've always been a Windows user. I thought, you know what, I'm moving in here. I'm now to start this new job. I think I need this Apple Mac. I need to become a Mac user, because if I have the Mac, then I'll be like one of these cool people at these conferences, and my productivity is just going to go so much up. I'm going to be so more creative with an Apple Mac, because that's what all those creative people use. So I was really getting into this, and I eventually went out and spent some hard cash on a beautiful 27-inch iMac. It was massive. I had to just about manage to carry the box back to the car, and I got it home, and then I even mounted it on the wall. Just looked so cool. You couldn't see any cables. I had a wireless keyboard and mouse. I thought, yeah, this is cool. This is so cool. Well, after a little while, it wasn't quite. I was still harking back to using Windows. So then I managed to run Windows on the Mac, and those will know recently that iMac, which is 10 years old now, I can't bear to get rid of it. It now sits in the corner of my desk, and just to break up the monotony of lockdown, I use it to run these brilliant video sequences of desert islands and snowy woodlands just in the background while I'm working. So the screen is still brilliant, and it is a brilliant device, but just how funny these things can happen. And just a pro tip, if you're looking for those, if you look on YouTube and put in 4K window scenes, then you'll see what I'm looking at. But anyway, but how easily we can be drawn into things, how easily we can, things can promise us so much, when actually when we stand back, if we had an honest conversation with someone, I might still have bought that iMac, but maybe I shouldn't have expected that it would transform me in that way, and how that strong emotional appeal can just drag us into things. Well, you know what? With strong emotional appeal, if you're distracted by what's on the path, then you will be distracted from where that path is taking you. And if you're distracted by what's on the path, then you will choose appealing over satisfying. See, there's so many things out there that just look so appealing, and especially now in today's culture where we can have things so quickly, same day, next day, a few days. We can try and satisfy that appeal, but then a few days later, that's gone, and we're looking for something new. But you know what? This is not the way for a satisfying life. And we're going to look at a bit of a letter which the Apostle Paul wrote to one of the churches that he planted. And he would write these letters just to inform them and encourage them, to teach them. And this is going to be from a letter he wrote to the church in Galatia. And in the New Testament, it's in the book which we call Galatians chapter 5. And he starts off in verse 13 when he says, "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free." Free. Well, if your version of Christianity is not liberating, it's the wrong version. And maybe the version that you left, if you've gone away from church, maybe that if that version wasn't liberating, if it wasn't about freedom, then I'll just put it to you, maybe you left the wrong version. And I hope as you engage with these series and when we're able to meet together again, that you'll experience and discover some of the freedom that we are talking about today. And we want to welcome and invite you back in to join us on that journey. He carries on, "But do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh." Oh, what a strange word that can sound to be. But all he's saying is don't give in to every impulse. It's flesh, just a word for everyday desires. Why? Because you'll lose your freedom and hurt someone else in the process. Rather serve one another humbly in love. So I've got to put other people before myself. You see, this is what the New Testament really points towards in the way we live. That using your freedom to benefit others leads to a satisfying life. If you meet people, the happiest people, they are those who are always putting other people first. Somehow, by elevating them above themselves, they seem more satisfied. Seeking self-interest and self-advancement and giving in to those desires doesn't lead to satisfaction. You see, using your freedom to benefit only yourself at the expense of others is a dissatisfying life. He carries on in verse 14, "For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself." One command. One command. So I say, walk by the Spirit. Again, this isn't not some strange mystical, you need special music and candles and incense burning to do the Spirit thing. This is just listening to those internal nudges from your Heavenly Father. They might seem like small things, but it's learning to discern those. Maybe you should just stand back for a moment and reconsider. What's that niggling feeling? This is going to be fantastic. This is all these things. It's just going to be so good. It promises so much, and yet, I've just got that little. What is it? The nudge from your Father. It's not a loud, booming voice. We know God speaks often in a still, small voice. So walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Or you could put it like this: you will not fulfill selfish desires. You won't be as susceptible to things with a strong emotional appeal. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you do not do whatever you want. Conflict. There is a conflict between what you ought to do and what you want to do. If there was no conflict, wouldn't it be fantastic? You would wake up and you would just do everything that you knew was the right thing to do. You would be full of pleasantries to those in your household. The dishes would be done, all the chores, there would be no grumbling or complaining. When you went out to the shop, the aisle with those nice blue and purple small package bars on, you wouldn't be interested in those? No. because you would be just, I don't need it. There'd be whole industries which would be shut down because there'd be no conflict in us. Sadly, though, that is not the case. And we often want whatever is appealing to us. So when we feel that strong emotional appeal, then we should treat that as a red flag, not as a green light. It should be a red flag. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you should be cautious. The strong emotion is not an indication and a guarantee that this is the right thing to do, that this is a green light for you to proceed. You should take caution. You should seek wisdom. You should ask somebody else for their opinion, their honest opinion, who isn't wrapped up emotionally in what it is that you are considering. The Apostle Paul carries on, verse 18, but if you are led by the Spirit, what will happen? If you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Well, why? Because Jesus gave us this one overarching command, love your neighbor as yourself. And if you submit to that one, then you don't need the law. Because it's all summed up in loving someone else beyond yourself. So the question to ask, which is a hard question, when you're seeing these things, when you're looking at opportunity, when you're considering a relationship, what does love require of me? Doesn't that disarm you? Doesn't that strip you back? Doesn't that make you uncomfortable? To reflect on that, to think, what does love require of me? What a good question to ask. Now, Paul carries on. He says the acts of the flesh are obvious. And in fact, we all know what these are, and you can go and look them up in that passage. Paul gives us a list of things, but you know what? I mean, this list is from nearly 2,000 years ago, and yet the incredible thing is, if we sat down to come up with our own list, I bet we would come up with the very same things, because even though the list hasn't changed, human beings haven't changed. We're still drawn to the same things. Some are very obvious, and some are maybe more hidden. But when we approach them, we must remember, red flag, not green light. Paul continues, I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. That can sound really shocking. What does that mean? Does that mean they won't go to heaven? Well, maybe if it meant that, then he would have written that. The fact is, if you never have any sense of God's promptings, or you just consistently ignore them, when you're confronted with all these shiny, appealing, self-centered options, if you never once crosses your mind that that's all about you and somebody else's cost, then maybe it's time to have a wonder. Maybe you need to get a bit worried. Maybe you need to listen to what those friends, those loved ones are saying to you. That there is something at stake, and you need to begin living in a different direction. And this is where this all comes to. We said at the beginning, well, wouldn't it be easy if we just stopped doing things? We just ignored these things. Well, the way that we have to move on is to live in a different direction. We need to choose satisfying over appealing. And my prayer today, and I hope that you do, and I believe God, our Father, wants us to choose satisfying over appealing. Not just giving in to all these things that are trying to grab our attention, but standing back and giving time to think about where are we headed? Not just what do we need now for this emergency, for this situation. I'm feeling low. I just need something to pick me up now. What about tomorrow? What about next week? What about next year? What about the next 5 years? Where's your family heading? Where's your important relationships heading? Well, the good news is that Paul then goes on to describe what we call the fruit of the Spirit. And this is just the outcome of saying yes to those nudges from God. And here we've listed them out. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And he carries on in verse 23, he says, against such things there is no law. So, no longer. You can't be too joyful. You can't love one another too much. You can't say to your partner, your husband, your wife, you can't say, you're too patient. You're just too patient with me. We need to go and find some help. There's just too much patience in this house. Maybe right now, when everybody's at home, it's too peaceful. It's too calm. I might be sat downstairs. I can hear noise coming from a bedroom. And all 3 children are up there. I'm thinking, what's going on? I go up. Whoa, you are outdoing one another in kindness. Can you imagine that? There is no limit. There is no limits on these things. One rule, no regret. Imagine if we could live like that. Imagine if we set our lives in a direction where we put loving others first, where we thought about those strong emotional appeals, what they might pull us off course, that we might learn to begin to live with no limits on these things, and how that would lead to such a satisfying life, that we would live with no regrets. So as we think about drawing it to a close, have you become so enamored with something or someone on your path that you have failed to recognize where the path you're on is taking you? It's so easy. Are you so far down the path that now you feel a fear of making a change? What might other people think if I turn around, if I head differently? Have you justified so many bad decisions? So many people have come to you to advise you, and you said, no, I know what you're saying, but this is the right thing. I'm so convinced. Maybe you've convinced yourself. And the thought of now being honest and saying, I was wrong. Maybe your pride is getting in the way. We need to be living in a different direction. And we need the help of one another. This is not easy. We need those close to us in our community who are willing to ask those questions out of love because they care for us. And if you can see someone heading in a direction which isn't going to lead to a satisfying life, you need to speak to them. You need to love them and to show them that concern. And we need to be willing to receive that. So we come back to the principle of the path. Our direction, not our intentions, determines our destination. What we sow is what we will reap. So I implore you today to really give this some thought, to look out for when those things come to drag you off, that you would stand back as a red flag, not to say no, but to give it some thought, to seek advice. And I hope that you'll choose to give in to the Spirit's nudgings, to put others first, to live with that one rule, that we might live with no limits on these things, to become known for people, someone who just seems to have so much love for everyone, so much kindness, so much patience. Wouldn't you like to have that celebrated at the end of your life. In a moment, I'm going to hand over to the music team who are going to lead us in a fantastic song. I just encourage you, let's not be passive in this. I know it's on a screen, but let's sing along. Let's close our eyes. Let's engage. This is not just something to entertain us. This is a moment, perhaps a moment when we can set aside what we're doing and just focus and listen to those nudgings of our Father. He's our only hope. And do we need hope now? Yes, we certainly do. So that's my prayer for us this morning. As we move into this song now, just make that space to engage. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Huge thank you to Sam. So much treasure and gold shared this morning. If you had some technical difficulties, apologies there while we continue to adapt and figure out how to get this done. And we're committed to making sure we get it done. And so thank you for your patience. All of this will go back online. We will put it back on, and we'll email out when this is ready. So thanks for holding on this morning. I just wanted to wrap up and just say, what a powerful thing when Sam said that this version of faith that Jesus offered was supposed to give life and be liberating. What a challenge that if the faith that we're experiencing isn't setting us free, then maybe we're not really experiencing the faith and the life that Jesus came to give us. I was challenged when Sam referenced the fruit of the Spirit, the stuff that is evidenced when we follow Jesus, which should be love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And if I actually am honest and think what everyone in the entire world needs, no matter how old they are or young they are, no matter their background, their ethnicity, no matter what, every single person in the entire world, that's what they need. And that's the fruit of the lives of those who follow Jesus. That's what we should be sharing with the world. And I find that really challenging, but also really encouraging and humbling that we are chosen by God to be a vessel to share those types of gifts with one another and others. And so, if you're just journeying in faith, as we said, please reach out, get in touch with us. We'd love to walk and journey with you. And we want to share and experience life together. I'm really excited that coming up in the month of February, we are starting a brand new theme. So for 4 weeks over February, we are going to do a theme called Totally Devoted. And we're going to look at what it means to love God and love others. And we're going to take a text from the book of Acts, which talks about the history of the early church. And we're going to look at one passage of scripture, just a few verses over 4 weeks. And I'm excited that we've got 2 guest speakers out of these 4 sessions. And it's going to be really, really good stuff, really cool stuff. Now, I'm going to show you a short little video just to give you a teaser. And then that's it. And we're going to go. So thanks so much for joining us today. It's been really great to be together. And here's what's coming up for February.